Okay. Okay, so let's go back to our nationalism versus sectionalism thing that we were working on, and of course my PowerPoint has decided to just do whatever it wants. What was the last one we ended on? Because I looked at someone's paper and I was like, Okay, so looking at this, we kind of went over these decisions when we were going over our homework. All of these decisions, who did they greatly magnify the power of? The states or the federal government? I know it says court here. Federal government. So is this nationalism or sectionalism? Okay, it's nationalism. It magnifies the power of the federal government to look at the states, right? To make sure that they're not taxing those institutions, to make sure they're not impairing in contracts. Do you think the states are going to be very happy with this? Because what has happened to the state's power? It's declined. Is this going to lead to backlash later? So can I also say that this is sectionalism? That these cases take away power from the state and the states will eventually rebel. And I promise you this is what the Civil War is about. It's about states being taken, the power being taken away from states. And who is the power given to? The federal government. So this one is what? Both. Let's look at the next one. Manufacturing increased. Americans took pride in the factories that had recently mushroomed forth as a result from the self-imposed embargoes and the War of 1812. Nationalism, right? Hooray, buy American. But in the same extent, how are they encouraging you to buy American? What are they putting on you to say we have to buy American manufactured goods? Do y'all remember what's the tax, the tariff? Is everybody going to be happy with the tariff that goes on manufactured goods? No. Do y'all remember what two areas is not going to like this? The West and the South. So yes, this is supposed to protect them, right? Hooray, American manufactured goods, but are we going to have sectionalism?
Yes.
Yes. Again, we're starting our Civil War at this time. And the reason why it's sectionalism, because what are we going to put to protect our manufacturers? Tariffs. The next one, American art and literature. Washington Irving and James Fenimore Cooper attained national recognition in the 1820s, significantly as the nation's first writers of importance to use American scenes and themes. Even American painters increasingly celebrated their native landscapes in their canvases. The Hudson River School. I don't know why there's a question there. That's just the name of the school. Nationalism or sectionalism?
Nationalism.
Nationalism. Monroe's Good World Tour. Emerging nationalism was further cemented by the Good World Tour Monroe undertook in early 1817, ostensibly to inspect the military defenses. He pushed northward deep into New England and then westward into Detroit and the Federalist New England. He received a heartwarming welcome. A newspaper announced that this was an era of good feelings. This happy phrase has been used to describe Monroe's administration. Unfortunately, the era of good feelings is a misnomer. Do y'all know what misnomer is? Misnamed, right? So if I were to say Sammy, who's not here today, is tiny, is that a misnomer? Because Sammy is what? Tall. He's not tiny. That's a misnomer. That's like calling me a giant. Y'all know I'm not tall. I'm short, right? So that's a misnomer, mislabel. Okay, the era of good feelings is a misnomer because this period was troubled with issues over the tariff, the bank, internal improvements, the sale of public land. Sectionalism was crystallizing, and conflicts would soon arise over slavery. Nationalism or sectionalism? Sectionalism and?
Nationalism.
So it's both, right? Because we have all these issues that we've been covering. The Missouri Compromise. Sectionalist tensions involving rivalry between the slave South and the free North over the control of the West was revealed in 1819. In 1819, Missouri asked Congress for permission as a slave state. The Talmadge Amendment passed in the House. It stipulated slavery would be prohibited in Missouri and children would be freed. Many Southerners saw this as a threat to westward expansion. A compromise will be reached. Missouri will come in as a slave state, Maine will come in as a free state, and slavery would be abolished above 3630. Nationalism or sectionalism? Hey, why do y'all say sectionalism? Oh, we're splitting that line. If we look at this line, this is what's going to lead to the Civil War. Could I say that this is nationalism? What does this do?
It's making a new.
It's adding more states.
It's adding more states, so that's nationalistic. Is it keeping us together?
Yes.
Is it avoiding the problem at this time?
Yes.
Yes, which we talked about on that study guide. So this is what? Both. The Hartford Convention. The Hartford Convention was a manifestation of Federalist discontent. The states of Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island sent delegates to the convention. The Federalists demanded that the national government abolish the 3/5 clause, limit the presidency to a single term, prevent successive presidents from the same states, required a 2/3 agreement on declaring war, trade restrictions, and admission of a new state. Most of the Federalist demands reflected the Federalist fears that once a proud New England was falling subservient to an agrarian South and West. The Hartford Convention will lead to the death of the Federalist Party and a one-party rule. Nationalism or sectionalism?
Nationalism.
How many parties?
One.
One. So it is nationalism, but despite, I said, okay, this party dies. What is going to rise up to rebuttal for us to have these differences? Do y'all remember? We don't have two parties, but what are we going to have? Do we have sectionalism still?
Yes.
Yes, instead of having party differences, we're going to have what? Regional differences. Because who loves the bus, if we think about this from last time?
North.
The North. Who hates the bus?
South.
South and?
West.
Who loves the tariff? North. Who hates the tariff? Okay. Who likes roads and canals? North and West. Who hates them? Who's kind of like, they like them, but they also hate them?
West.
The North, because it drains their population but brings in the raw materials. Are we having sectionalism despite not having political parties? Okay, so what we're going to do next is I need everybody to get a book.